Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you're part of our journey. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and get ready for a story that will leave you thinking. And if you love inspiring tales, a like goes a long way. "We don't accept coins here," the cashier announced loudly, her voice cutting through the festive mall music. The man's weathered hands froze mid-count, the small pile of quarters and dimes he'd been carefully arranging suddenly looking pathetic under the bright store lights. Around them, other shoppers shifted uncomfortably, pretending not to notice the growing humiliation in line 5. The pink-boxed doll sat on the counter between them, a barrier of plastic and dreams. Through the display window, Christmas decorations twinkled mockingly. The man wore faded work clothes, still dusty from his shift, a stark contrast to the polished marble floors and designer shopping bags that surrounded him. His eyes remained downcast, focused on the coins he'd spent weeks collecting, each one bringing him closer to his daughter's birthday wish. Behind him, the line grew restless. A woman sighed dramatically. Someone muttered about holding up everyone's time. The cashier's smirk widened as she reached to remove the doll from the counter. That's when the man in the black baseball cap, who had been quietly observing from 2 customers back, stepped forward, his familiar face partially hidden beneath the brim. If this moment made you feel something, imagine what's coming next. Hit that like button and stay with us. Subscribe now. The mall buzzed with holiday shoppers, a symphony of rustling bags and cheerful music that had started to feel like a taunt to Miguel as he stood frozen at the register. The doll, Princess Sparkle, was the only thing his 6-year-old Lucia had circled in the toy catalog. For 3 weeks, he'd collected every spare coin from his 2 janitorial jobs, keeping them in an old coffee can labeled Lucia's birthday. Today was his only chance to buy it before her party tomorrow, having rushed here during his 30-minute break between shifts. "Store policy," the cashier, Vanessa, according to her name tag, explained with practiced indifference. "Credit, debit, or bills only." Her eyes flicked pointedly to the growing line behind him, her expression a perfect blend of manufactured patience and genuine disdain. Miguel wasn't wearing the right clothes for this upscale toy boutique, and they both knew it. The security guard near the entrance had already been watching him since he entered. I can count it out for you," Miguel offered quietly, his accent thickening with nervousness. "It's exactly $49.99 plus tax." His calloused fingers moved methodically through the pile of coins he'd polished last night so they'd look presentable. A family behind him moved to another line, the mother whispering something to her daughter while glancing back. The girl clutched her own Princess Sparkle box, already paid for, with a quick tap of a credit card. "Sir, you're holding up the line," Vanessa said louder than necessary. "Maybe you should try the discount store across town." Her smile tightened as several customers chuckled. The holiday spirit that decorated every inch of the mall with tinsel and goodwill had somehow failed to reach this corner. The man in the baseball cap had moved closer now, just 1 person away. Though his face remained partially hidden, his attention was fully fixed on the scene unfolding before him, his posture shifting subtly from passive observer to something more deliberate. Miguel's shoulders curved inward as if to make himself smaller. "Please," he said, his voice barely audible over the cheerful holiday music. "My daughter, she has been waiting." Vanessa reached for the doll box with manicured fingers, sliding it away from his reach in one smooth motion, her expression communicating that the conversation was over. The mall's overhead lights caught the glimmer of tears Miguel fought to contain as he began scooping his coins back into a worn Ziploc bag. "Next customer," Vanessa called, pointedly looking past Miguel to the businessman checking his watch. The line had grown restless, frustrated faces peering forward to identify the source of the delay. No one made eye contact with Miguel as he gathered his dignity along with his coins. No one except the man in the black cap, who had removed his sunglasses and was now stepping forward. Something in his movement caused heads to turn. A ripple of recognition spreading through the nearest shoppers as Keanu Reeves quietly positioned himself next to Miguel at the counter. Things are about to take a turn. Don't miss what happens next. Subscribe, like our video, and keep watching. "Excuse me," Keanu said, his voice low but carrying an unmistakable gravity that immediately silenced the line. "I think there's been a misunderstanding here." The cashier's eyes widened, her practiced customer service smile freezing as she recognized the actor. Around them, phones began to appear. Discreetly at first, then more openly as shoppers realized who was standing among them. Miguel, still focused on collecting his coins, hadn't noticed the celebrity beside him or the sudden shift in the atmosphere. "Mr. Reeves," Vanessa stammered, her demeanor transforming instantly. "I was just explaining our store policy to this gentleman." Her voice had risen an octave, sweetness replacing the dismissive tone she'd used moments before. The security guard who had been watching Miguel with suspicion was now approaching with an entirely different purpose, his expression a mixture of surprise and excitement. The businessman who had been impatiently waiting his turn suddenly seemed in no hurry at all, stepping back slightly to give Keanu room. "I heard," Keanu replied simply, his kind eyes moving between Miguel and the Princess Sparkle doll still in Vanessa's hand. "And I'm curious about this policy." He gestured to the coins Miguel was still gathering. "Because last I checked, these are legal tender in the United States." The statement was delivered without aggression, yet carried a quiet challenge that couldn't be ignored. The crowd, growing larger as word spread through nearby stores, held a collective breath. Miguel finally looked up, recognition dawning slowly on his tired face as he realized who was standing beside him. "I don't want trouble," he whispered to Keanu, his embarrassment evident. "It's okay, I can try another store." But the determination in his eyes betrayed how much this particular doll meant, how he'd promised his daughter the exact Princess Sparkle her friends had, not a knockoff from the discount store where he usually shopped. "It's no trouble at all," Keanu assured him with the quiet warmth that had endeared him to millions. Then, addressing Vanessa again, "I'm interested in why this man's money isn't good enough for your store." His tone remained conversational, yet the question hung in the air like a challenge. A teenager nearby whispered, "John Wick doesn't approve," earning nervous laughter from those close enough to hear. The store manager emerged from the back, alerted by an assistant about the unexpected celebrity presence. "Perhaps you could count these coins together," Keanu suggested, placing a gentle hand on Miguel's shoulder. "I find that counting can be quite meditative." The way he said it transformed what had been a source of humiliation into something dignified. "Or," he continued, looking directly at Vanessa, "you could explain to everyone here why you believe some customers deserve respect while others don't." The question wasn't delivered with anger, but with a philosopher's curiosity that made it impossible to dismiss. The store manager approached, her professional smile strained as she assessed the situation. "Mr. Reeves, what an honor. I'm Jessica, the store manager. Is there something I can help with?" Her eyes darted nervously between the Hollywood star, the embarrassed cashier, and the growing crowd of onlookers with raised phones. What had begun as a routine humiliation of someone deemed unimportant was now being documented by dozens of potential social media posts. "Jessica," Keanu acknowledged with a nod. "This gentleman was trying to purchase a gift for his daughter's birthday. With money. Real money that he earned." He gestured to the coins that Miguel had now gathered back into his Ziploc bag. "But apparently, his form of payment isn't welcome here." The simplicity of his framing made the injustice impossible to rationalize away. Several customers who had been impatiently waiting now looked uncomfortable, confronted with their own silent complicity moments earlier. Miguel stood straighter now, finding unexpected dignity in Keanu's defense. "My Lucia, she turns 6 tomorrow," he explained quietly to Keanu, though his words carried to those nearby. "She asks only for this doll. 3 weeks, I save every coin." He looked down at the Ziploc bag in his hands, then back at the doll on the counter, the distance between them representing more than just a transaction denied. Jessica's professional facade cracked slightly as the human cost of her store's policy became impossible to ignore, especially with Keanu Reeves himself serving as witness. This story is only getting deeper. What would you do in this situation? Comment below, and let's talk. "Of course we accept coins." Jessica attempted to recover, shooting a warning glance at Vanessa. There must have been a misunderstanding. She reached for the doll, but Keanu gently placed his hand on the box first. "Actually," he said, "I think we all understood perfectly what happened here." His voice remained kind but carried an unmistakable weight. "So, let's be honest with each other." The crowd grew utterly silent. Holiday music, suddenly the only sound in this corner of the mall. Even the security guard seemed unsure where to look. His earlier suspicion of Miguel transformed into something like shame. "I'd like to purchase this doll," Keanu continued, his hand still resting on the box. Then, turning to Miguel, "If you'll allow me the honor of counting these coins with you." The offer was extended with such genuine respect that it elevated what could have been charity into something altogether different, a collaboration between equals. Miguel's eyes met Keanu's, finding no pity there, only sincere human connection. Around them, the crowd had grown still, many lowering their phones as the moment felt too genuine to reduce to a viral clip. "Please," Miguel said, carefully opening his Ziploc bag on the counter. "I have counted many times. It is exact amount, with tax." His dignity had returned, no longer a man being tolerated but someone whose meticulousness deserved respect. Keanu nodded and began helping count the coins, arranging them in neat stacks of dollars. His fingers, which had wielded weapons in blockbuster films, now moved with care through the quarters, dimes, and nickels that represented hours of Miguel's labor. $54.43, Keanu announced when they finished, looking up at Jessica and Vanessa. "Exactly what's needed." The precise amount revealed that Miguel had calculated the tax and prepared the exact sum, his attention to detail making the earlier dismissal even more unjust. Jessica nodded quickly, too aware of the watching crowd to do anything else. "This is a beautiful doll," Keanu commented, lifting the Princess Sparkle box. "Your daughter has good taste." The simple affirmation transformed the toy from something Miguel had been made to feel he had no right to purchase into a perfectly reasonable desire. "I have a niece about your daughter's age," he continued conversationally, though everyone knew Keanu was an intensely private person who rarely shared personal details. "She loves these dolls too." Vanessa had begun ringing up the purchase, her movements mechanical as she avoided meeting anyone's eyes. The cash register beeped as she scanned the doll, the sound unnaturally loud in the hushed atmosphere. "Would you like a gift receipt?" she asked, her customer service voice now hollow. Before Miguel could answer, Keanu spoke again. "Actually," he said, reaching for his wallet, "I'd like to add something." He pulled out a $100 bill and placed it on the counter. "For her next birthday. Or maybe a special family dinner to celebrate this one." He offered it not to Vanessa but directly to Miguel, one father figure to another, man to man. "Please," he added when Miguel hesitated. It would be an honor. The moment balanced on a knife's edge, charity could so easily become another form of humiliation. But something in Keanu's sincere expression, the way he'd stood shoulder to shoulder with Miguel while counting coins rather than taking over, made it possible for Miguel to accept the gift with dignity. "My family will remember your kindness, Mr. Reeves," he said, accepting the bill with a firm handshake instead of bowed gratitude. The exchange complete, Vanessa placed the doll in a gift bag with trembling hands, finally comprehending the magnitude of her earlier cruelty as she passed it across the counter. "It's not over yet. The best part is coming. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it." As Miguel took the colorful bag containing his daughter's dream gift, scattered applause broke out among the onlookers. The sound seemed to embarrass him slightly, but Keanu placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Happy birthday to Lucia," he said warmly. 6 is a wonderful age." The simple acknowledgement of his daughter's name and upcoming celebration restored something essential that had been stripped away in the earlier interaction: Miguel's identity as a loving father rather than just a man without a credit card. Jessica, seizing an opportunity for damage control, stepped forward. "Mr. Hernandez, please accept our sincerest apologies." And she hesitated, glancing at the crowd with their still-raised phones. "We'd like to offer a store gift card for your daughter's future purchases." But the calculated nature of the gesture was transparent to everyone watching. Keanu's subtle headshake was barely perceptible, yet it eloquently communicated the difference between genuine connection and performative kindness. "Thank you, but this is enough," Miguel replied with newfound confidence, holding up the gift bag. His dignity was no longer something that could be taken from him or bestowed by others. It was firmly his own. Several people in line nodded in approval, the earlier impatience replaced by something more reflective. A woman who had switched lines earlier approached Vanessa's register, deliberately placing her items on the counter. "I'll be paying with coins too," she announced, opening her purse. "I've been saving them for a while." Her eyes met Miguel's briefly, an unspoken acknowledgement passing between them. Behind her, another customer nodded, fingering the change in his pocket meaningfully. The small revolution spread quietly through the line, a lesson about humanity delivered not through Vanessa's humiliation, but through solidarity. Keanu, sensing Miguel needed to get back to work, walked with him toward the exit, deftly steering them away from those trying to take selfies or record videos. "What time does Lucia's party start tomorrow?" he asked, their conversation now private despite the public setting. Miguel's face brightened as he spoke about his daughter's favorite cake flavor and how she'd been practicing a special dance to show her friends. As they reached the mall exit, Keanu extended his hand again. "Thank you for letting me share in this," he said, the simplicity of his words carrying their own eloquence. What he didn't say, but what everyone who had witnessed the interaction understood, was that some gifts transcend their price tags: dignity, respect, and the recognition of our shared humanity. Miguel stepped out into the winter afternoon, holding his daughter's gift carefully. Behind him, in the store that had nearly turned him away, a cashier was carefully counting a customer's coins, taking her time to ensure each one was properly acknowledged. Sometimes the most important lessons about human worth come not from policy changes, but from moments when someone who could simply walk by chooses instead to stand alongside. Wow, what a story! If this moved you, imagine what else we have for you. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and let us know what you think.